The Tyranids are a ravenous and bestial Xenos race whose origins lie outside the boundaries of the Milky Way galaxy. The bulk of the race is divided into numerous hive fleets, each with their own unique traits as well as distinctive colorations and behaviours. Despite these initial differences, the Tyranids are all unified by the all-encompassing force of the hive mind, which drives these seemingly separate fleets towards a singular overarching objective: to consume and evolve, before moving towards the next source of biomass in order to repeat the process. When the Tyranids assault a world, everything upon it is consumed. Flora, fauna, soil, water, and even the world's atmosphere are all devoured by the hive fleets, leaving worlds completely scoured of all life, even down to the cellular level. Following in the aftermath of a Tyranid invasion, worlds that once teemed with life are left as nothing more than sterile expanses of bedrock. As the hive fleets acquire more genetic material from a wider range of organisms, they are able to reconstitute this gene stock to create new bioform strains, as well as improving existing organisms within the swarm with new and beneficial traits. From the DNA of the Eldari, the Tyranids have created the zoanthrope in order to provide what is essentially psychic artillery, while the genetically engineered organs of the Adeptus Astartes are rumoured to be responsible for the monstrous beasts known as the Tyrant Guard, thanks to the presence of a fused ribcage and what appears to be a black carapace organ under their epidermis. But one race is seemingly immune to the eternal hunger of the Tyranids, the ancient beings known as the Necrons. The Necrons are an ancient race that has existed for over 65 million years, and are well known for their war against the mysterious race known as the Old Ones, a conflict that would become known in history as the War in Heaven. Unlike almost every other race within the galaxy, the Necrons are a race that is entirely mechanical, having long abandoned their biology thanks to the promises and lies uttered by the godlike beings known as the Catan. Necrons are constructed from a material known as necrodermis, or as it is more commonly known, living metal. Living metal is not only amazingly durable, but it is also able to repair and regenerate from most forms of damage inflicted upon it, much like living tissue. This material is also used within the construction of Necron weaponry, vehicles, and was even utilised in the creation of physical bodies for the Catan. So, could it ever be possible for the Tyranids to ever consume the necrodermis of the Necron race? Initially, the answer would appear to be no, due to the Tyranids' primary goal being that of consuming organic matter. There have also been cases of Tyranid hive fleets assaulting worlds belonging to the Adeptus Mechanicus, leaving behind only machinery and bionics as the sole trace of the tech priests that once existed upon the worlds in question. However, it would appear that in recent years, the Tyranids have managed to have evolved the ability to consume and digest refined metals and ores in addition to just organic material. Within the novel Devastation of Baal, a Servile of the Watch in service to the Angel's Excelsis Space Marine chapter reports the following information to 2nd Captain Irwin regarding the feeding habits of the Tyranids, after the chapter discovered an Adeptus Mechanicus relay station that had been partially consumed.
They take minerals of every kind, my lord. I have compared spectrographic analysis of this world with records of how it was. It shows massive depletion of all main range elements. The Devourer remakes the worlds it consumes. Although, I notice a small inconsistency with the oldest records of Tyrannic stripped worlds. The older worlds show a larger loss of mass, The Tyranids spent longer on each, digesting parts of the planetary crust. They do not remain so long as they once did. Once the biological components of the world have been devoured, they target only sources of refined metals, such as the Mechanica station here, in preference to source minerals.
This shows that the Hive Fleets are certainly capable of consuming more than just organic matter, having presumably developed this ability from reconstituting the genetic material of certain organisms consumed by the Hive Fleets that had evolved to consume metal, such as the creature known as the Ferrobeast. Ferrobeasts themselves have infamously been documented consuming the metallic components of shuttlecraft and vehicles that had landed upon their world. But what about consuming the living metal of the Necrons? It would appear that, regardless of the benefits, or lack thereof with doing so, the Tyranids are certainly capable of consuming necrodermis. This is also supported by the fact that the Xenos race known as the Kroot have themselves been documented as ingesting necrodermis in at least one instance, though not without consequences. As detailed within the 7th edition Necron Codex, when the Necrons of the Sortek dynasty invaded the Kroot world of Karok, the Kroot would be victorious in the first few engagements. However, after the Kroot dined upon the living metal of the Necrons, they would be afflicted by an outbreak of nanoscarab plague. So, seeing as it is hypothetically possible for the Tyranids to consume the living metal of the Necrons, could there ever be an advantage in doing so? While the Tyranids themselves would almost certainly be afflicted with a nanoscarab plague, the Hive Fleets are shown to be highly adaptable, and thus could theoretically develop a method of counteracting this plague within a relatively short period of time. It's possible that the Tyranids could make use of the seemingly unique mineral composition within necrodermis to enhance their bioforms with metallic appendages or other such killing tools. While it may seem impossible for the Tyranids to create creatures with body parts made from metal or a metal-like substance, there are in fact creatures around today that have evolved metallic appendages. The most notable of which is a species of parasitic wasp known as the saber wasp. The saber wasp features a combined drilling organ and ovipositor which it uses to lay its eggs within wood in order to protect them. This organ is capped with a cuticle comprised of zinc and manganese metals, allowing it to puncture wood without breaking the wasp's ovipositor. The presence of the metals within the organ also makes up 10% of its total weight. Making use of metallic components within the evolution of new Tyranid bioform strains may already be in effect. The creatures of Hive Fleet Tiamat have evolved an incredibly strong and durable carapace, which is capable of repelling extreme bursts of energy and intense kinetic force. As such, it's possible that Tiamat could be, in essence, the trial run in making use of necrodermis for future creatures spawned by the Hive Fleets. After all, the Hive Fleets have been shown to begin congregating towards the locations of Necron tomb worlds, despite the Tyranids initially avoiding them. As such, this could very well mean that the Tyranids have learned about the potential benefits of such material, and thus have begun to seek it out in order to consume it. Even the Silent King, the supreme ruler of the entire Necron race, returned from his self-imposed exile after the initial arrival of the Tyranids. As such, perhaps the Silent King realizes the danger that the Hive Fleets themselves pose to his people, especially if the Tyranids succeed in consuming all biological matter within the galaxy. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.